It's amazing to me how modern science leaves out the placebo effect or the nocebo effect. We don't even look at some of the things that are done in the major religions of the world in some parts of the country, like voodoo, even though we know that what we believe influences how our biochemistry and physiology unfold. These are huge effects. Our intention, what we believe in, our confidence, has so much to do with how our body will perform in a way that serves what we need. How much power does a mind actually have? I can remember back in 1986 when one of my patients came to me and said he was doing a fire walk. And I said, "You mean you're going to take off your shoes and socks and you're going to walk on hot coals?" He said, "Yes." And it just stunned me because I thought the guy was an idiot. And I'd heard about things like that, but I was quite sure that it wasn't possible because it wasn't in my belief system. But in actuality, what happened is he invited me to go watch him do it. And because it wasn't too far away and I was interested, I said, "Fine, I'll go." So Vicki and I went down and we watched this 300 people working with Tony Robbins, spent a whole evening watching the preparation unfold, and came out these wheelbarrows that were full of hot coals that you wouldn't want to get near, and they stretched them out 12 feet long and 3 feet wide, and people took off their shoes and socks and rolled up their pant leg and started walking across these coals. My boundaries were shattered. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because people were walking on these 2,000 degree coals, getting to the other side and not being burned up. And when I went there to scoff at my poor patient, I wound up walking on the coals myself because I couldn't believe that this was something that other people were going to do, and I just felt like I had to do it. I could just see myself waking up in the ICU the next day trying to explain to my partners, "Yeah, I thought I could walk on these hot coals and there wasn't going to be a problem," but it didn't turn out that way. So we know that what we believe, what we think, influences how our body responds. Some of the things that I saw when I was in the Orient, with people with sharp knives poking themselves into the belly, with big indentations and no perforations of the skin, and doing feats that look like they're superhuman, began to extend my boundaries to be thinking of, we should be paying attention to this thing called placebo, the thing that we exclude in what we call good science, because we're just looking for the effect of, quotes, the drug or the technology or some other thing that we're measuring. But it's really important to be looking at that thing called placebo, because it's doing a lot of the changing in the physiology and the biochemistry that makes us get well. We know that there are studies on placebo that are shocking. One in particular was done in the last year, where people who had irritable bowel syndrome were given a pill that printed right on it, said placebo, spelled it out. And the doctor said, "This is a placebo, but I want you to take it several times a day anyway, and we'll see what happens over 6 weeks." And while that sounds like an idiotic study, the results came out to be shocking. The people on the placebo got better than the people who didn't take the placebo. What's going on? We've simply ignored something that's really important that we should be paying more attention to. And what about the nocebo effect, which is the reverse, of the placebo effect, which means you put a negative idea in somebody's mind that it changes their biochemistry and physiology in a negative sort of way. Would we want to focus on the side effects and complications and things that can go wrong with the surgery or a drug or technology? Brings up a lot of ethical questions that we have to ask ourselves. How much do you trust your doctor? How much do you want that doctor to make decisions for you rather than with you? It becomes very interesting because there are times when you want that placebo effect. You want to have all the positive things that can happen that are good happen rather than plant negative seeds in somebody's mind, and particularly in somebody who's had a life that's challenging that tends to look at things in a negative way. So, is voodoo real? Is placebo real? Do the things that monks do by changing their heart rate and their respirations to levels that are exceedingly low? What do we think about those things? What do you think about when an athlete's in the zone? Say Tiger Woods has got a shot of 240 yards and he gets out his 6-iron and puts it 2 or 4 feet from the pin. What does that? That confidence, that intention, that being in the zone is something special that people who have a lot of confidence can use, and people that don't never will, and think they will fail, and they will. So when it comes to medicine, the treatment of our patients, we should be looking at all these factors. There's no one size fits all, because no two people are the same. And sometimes that's placebo that we should be using. Sometimes it's planting intentions in people's mind. I know that there are cases where I have treated people not on purpose with, say for example, with infrared light therapy. I had one particular patient who I was treating with this incredible technology that relieves pain, and this person was very sensitive to pain. And as I usually treated him with light for his disc, with sciatica that's very severe, he's telling me about all the sensations he's feeling, and I'm watching the image on the screen as we do in real time. We monitor the thermogram of the patient during treatment. I'm seeing all these changes, and when it's done, he says, "That was a great treatment." And I looked down, and the light was off. It had never been on, and I didn't know it. How do I explain all these changes? Is it placebo? Yeah, it would be in part. Is it intention? Of course it would be intention. Both of ours that's doing it. So I've learned that there are many different aspects of what goes into helping a person to feel better and to get better and to heal, or to lose the symptoms that they have. Albert Schweitzer kind of summed it up. He basically said that what we should be doing is putting our patients in touch with the real healer, and that lives inside the person. Should we believe that these kinds of things influence our health? Absolutely, I do. And what it takes is a balance and a strong relationship with your patient if you want to get the benefit of these kinds of approaches to healing.